While the Commanders were making NFL history as just the second team to lose 4 straight games by at least 3 touchdowns, there were still some positives among a lot of negatives as well. So let's take a step back. Let's look at the few things that went right and what went very wrong for them in their loss. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Full Command Show. My name is Grant Mitchell, and we are here to discuss the major takeaways from the Week 10 loss to the Lions, dropping the team to 3-7. Now, you guys know that I try to be a real straight shooter here. I try to call things as they are. I don't have agendas against players or ideas or anything like that. Recently, there's been a lot more criticism on the channel, some more negativity, because that's what the performances have warranted. But also going back to the preseason, I was giving green squares to Brandon Coleman, who's not even active right now. I was giving dark green game balls to Josh Conerly. When it's right to highlight the positives, I will do that. I think there's a lot of new viewers on this channel who think that I'm just Mr. Negativity all the time, and that couldn't be further from the truth. So I do want to go back and actually point out some players that had good moments, showed some good signs in this game, while also being realistic and talking about what is really going wrong with this team, specifically what's going wrong with the defense, how historic of a collapse has it been, what can be changed moving forward, and what should our expectations be. So guys, we are about to jump into all of that, but before we do, make sure that you hit the like button. If you are a new viewer, do hit the subscribe button as well. And as always, go to the comment section and leave me your thoughts on everything I say in this video. I will leave a pinned comment for you to respond to. Honestly, don't even know what it's going to be yet. Probably going to be some sort of question. But just make sure that you scroll down and you check for it there. And also, the link to join the Full Command Discord is at the top of this description as well. We got about, they're 30 days in November? Yes, we got 20 days left. Anyone who joins, you can obviously talk to me and other Commanders fans. We also have rooms where you can enter monthly giveaways. Gave away a Jaden Daniels Super Bowl era jersey last month, at the end of last month. So that sounds like something you're interested in. Go ahead and join up. So the positives, not to become a toxic optimist, because those people are real. Normally when you hear someone say that they're toxic, that's a bad thing. Well, sometimes they're toxic optimists, and I am not that. I believe in being realistic, but realistically, Jaylin Lane had a great catch in this game, and I want to give him credit. Somehow, one way or another, Jaylin Lane cannot drop deep contested shots, but he cannot hold on to a 5-yard slant. He was drafted partially as a returner, and he can't hold on to the football when he's returning. But you send him 50 yards down the field, and he's got Gorilla Glue on his hands. That smothered that thing up. I would share the clip with you guys. I would, but YouTube has been restricting some of my videos whenever I post footage from the NFL YouTube channels or from the All-22. So we're going to have to use that a little more sparingly, but I do think you guys know the catch that I'm talking about. Also, Treylon Burks, only 3 catches for 58, 59 yards, whatever it was, had a long of 37, but he showed a lot. That 37-yarder up the left side, which he fought off some sort of defensive penalty, holding interference, illegal contact. I forget it now, but showed a lot of great strength, good speed, good acceleration to get down the field. His first catch, which is over the middle of the field in traffic, really strong hands catch. Arms were extended far from his body. Guys swatting at the ball, swatting his arms, and he held right on. At 6'2", 225, he brings a very physical presence that we don't have on this team. The closest thing to it was Noah Brown, and you saw the difference in physicality between Noah Brown and the other receivers, but in just really one game here, I saw the difference between Burks and Noah Brown, which speaks to the difference that he has compared to the rest of these players. So, as we look ahead to next season, our receivers right now, Noah Brown's not coming back. He's a free agent. He's just not coming back. I would be surprised if Deebo Samuel's back on this team as well. I think he's just going to want too much money. So that means our receivers right now are Terry McLaurin, who's going to be 31, Luke McCaffrey coming off of a broken collarbone, Jaylin Lane, and that's it. Aside from, we've got Corey Brooks as a UDFA, and we had Tamar and we released him. We got Robbie Chosen, who we can call up sometimes, Chris Moore. There's no reason not to have Treylon Burks unless we're going out and completely revamping this receiver room in free agency. And Burks is a first-round pick a couple of years ago, and he showed flashes in this game. So maybe we can have a better evaluation of him by the end of the season. But let's get to that point, and let's give him the reps so that we can go back and look at it and say, okay, this is what I saw from Burks. This is what he's got to improve on. These are the good, this is the bad, et cetera, et cetera. But off of this one game, he did a good job. Now I'm building up to something here. I'm building up to the biggest talking point, so just bear with me here. Kinlaw and Martin had a presence. Kinlaw in the run, Martin against the pass. Kinlaw did kind of over pursue plays, run out of his gap a little bit, but he was the only one getting any sort of real penetration when the Lions were running the ball. And you see if he's paired up with other players who are doing what they're supposed to, he can be a great player. Kinlaw, I think, has been our best defensive player this season. I have to go back and think about it, but continued to show that. Also, Jacob Martin. Amid all the talks about how terrible the edge rusher position is for the Commanders, and it's awful, but Jacob Martin has shown flashes for like a month straight now, and I would like to see Jacob Martin back on this team next year. Offensively, Marcus Mariota looks good. We might have the best backup quarterback in the league. I know Kirk Cousins is out there. I know Tanner McKee is really good. There's a lot of other guys floating around, but hey, I guess technically Joe Flacco is a backup, even though he's playing for Burrow right now. That one's a little iffy, but point being, Mariota, more times than not, has done a very good job. And QBR isn't a great stat. It's a little flawed, but even still, just for a general reference point, Mariota had a QBR of either 83, I think 83, 84, I want to say, in yesterday's game. So, he did his thing. And then also it was good to see Jonathan Jones back on the field. Of course, he left with a groin injury. Hopefully he's fine, but he had a nice deflection. Looked like he still had something in coverage and wouldn't mind seeing him stick around until next year. So the final big positive that I want to talk about from this game, and I said I was building towards something, right? Josh Conerly was pretty outstanding. Maybe that's going a little bit too far, but just because I haven't gone back and watched the all 22 of him in the run. I only went back and watched him in pass protection, and he did a very nice job. I'm still waiting on Pro Football Focus's numbers to be finalized as far as pressures allowed and things of that nature, but watching it with my eyes, he did a very nice job. And what I can tell you is that Aidan Hutchinson in this game only had 2 pressures in 26 pass rush reps. Now, some of those were on Tunsil, and I remember the one Tunsil gave up. One of them was on Conerly, but on that play, Conerly won the rep. He dragged Hutchinson inside, and then Mariota scrambled out to the right, and Mariota was basically rolling, going to the sideline, staying alive, trying to throw it instead of taking off and running. And by the time Mariota had gotten to the sideline, Hutchinson had kind of tracked him down. So Hutchinson was credited with a pressure, but Conerly won the rep. And if I didn't say this, because my memory's bad sometimes when I'm recording, but if I didn't say this already, Hutchinson's 2 pressures is the lowest that he's had in a game since week 6 of 2023. So the tackles on the outside that people love to criticize Adam Peters for, I've seen way too many comments attacking Josh Conerly, attacking AP for trading for Tunsil. We want everything to work out. Of course, I wanted Laramie Tunsil, or wanted Josh Conerly to be the best tackle in the NFL by week 1. Yeah, that's what I wanted. Was that realistic? No chance in hell. Of course, I would love to have our 2nd-round pick next year. Of course I would. But Laramie Tunsil is guaranteed to be a top 3 pass protector in the NFL at left tackle. And that's worth more than a 2nd-round pick. So let's be fair. Let's not only use Conerly as a tool to attack him or to attack Adam Peters. Conerly played a very good game. So I want to see that in the comment section. I want to see the love. All the times I get up here, I'm not on the Commanders' payroll. All the times I get up here and I say, hey, guys, a lot of these players were drafted off of athletic potential. They weren't drafted to be great as soon as they step into the NFL. So let's see how they develop. And that goes hand in hand with good coaching. And right now, most people in Commanders Nation want at least one coach fired, whether it's DQ, whether it's Cliff Kingsbury, whether it's Joe Witt Jr. So if you are one of those people and you want a coach fired and the draft picks are based on potential, which means that there has to be good coaching to get them to that finish line. If you just go through the train of logic, you'll start to see how a lot of these positions can unravel themselves. So, bottom line, Conerly played a very good game. I encourage you guys to go watch the All-22. Like I said, I can't put it in my videos all that much anymore, but if you do want to see it, I put together a little thread on my Twitter page, which you should be able to find. I think it's on my YouTube channel. Probably not on this video, but if you just go to my channel, I think there's a link to the Twitter there. So you can check it out there. Now, the negatives. And this one's going to be fun. We allowed 546 total yards with Dan Campbell calling plays. Again, I'm like 90% sure Dan Campbell was calling plays. That's the second most yards a team has gained in a season all year. And it came in Dan Campbell's first time this season, first time in I don't know how long calling plays. Maybe it's the first time ever. I genuinely don't know. But the Lions made a big change, and it resulted in the second best overall offensive performance of the year. Not saying that DQ calling plays for Joe Witt Jr. would be the difference, but if we're looking to make changes, nobody really thought Witt moving from the box down to the field would be the difference. But if we're just looking to try things, is that next on the list? I don't know. Jared Goff got a first down or a touchdown on nearly 58% of his dropbacks. Now, dropbacks include passes plus sacks, but the thing is the Commanders didn't get a sack in this game, so pretty much all passes. That's the highest rate allowed by a team to any quarterback this entire season. Again, Goff got a touchdown or a first down on nearly 58% of his dropbacks, which was number 1. Now, what's even better is number 3 on that list this season is Sam Darnold against the Commanders, and number 4 on that list is Michael Penix Jr. against the Commanders. The other 2 were Stafford against the Niners and Darnold against the Buccaneers. The Commanders have allowed 7.9 net yards per pass attempt. Now, how that's calculated is passing yards minus sack yards divided by dropbacks, pass attempts plus sacks. That 7.9 mark, that is the worst in the NFL since, any guesses? Last 5 years, last 10 years, 20 years? The 7.9 net yards allowed per pass attempt is the worst in the NFL since 1981. The Baltimore Colts. That is the worst. The 2015 Saints, the 2008 Lions, and the 1991 Rams all tied with the Commanders at the 7.9 net yards allowed per attempt. We're also at 8.4 yards allowed per traditional pass attempt. So take the sacks part out of it. Just quarterback dropping back, throwing the ball. 8.4 yards per pass attempt. That's the worst in the NFL this season. That's the worst in the NFL in the 2020s. That's the worst in the NFL since 2010. That's the worst in the NFL since at least 2000. When I got to 2000, I stopped counting. But just to put in perspective how bad it is. And one of my favorite stats, EPA, which is a measure of scoring efficiency, the Commanders' .276 EPA allowed per dropback is the worst in the NFL since, ironically, the 2020 Detroit Lions. So does that mean our dynasty is 5 years away? Hey, it's possible. I like the GM. We got the quarterback. It's possible. But boy, is there a lot of work to be done. The Commanders, pass and run here, are also allowing 0.13 more points expected per play, making them the 9th worst defense in the NFL since 2022. Looking at run and pass here, the Commanders are allowing 0.13 expected points added per play, making them the 9th worst defense in the NFL since 2002, which is the year the league expanded to 32 teams. So just truly putting into perspective, now we're quantifying how bad this team is. And I want to pull a quote here. I'll pop this up on the screen. This is a tweet from ESPN analyst Dan Orlovsky, former NFL quarterback. You might remember him from running out the back of the end zone. Yes, that guy. He tweeted this morning, "It's shocking to see how bad the Washington defense tape is. A lack of discipline, poor spacing, physicality. Talent has been an issue all season, but this tape was odd to see from a DQ unit. Not much between the whistle fight." What sticks out to me about this tweet is something that I've been saying for a long time on this channel. Talent has been an issue all season. That part is correct. With all of the injuries we've suffered, I've been very forthcoming in saying I don't expect us to win these games. I don't. My problem, and I sent this to the Discord, is my prediction for that Lions game was they would win 45-20. It was 44-22, so I was very close. I go into almost every game expecting us to give up 40 points, expecting us to get blown out, expecting us to maybe not force a punt, not force a turnover in that game. Let teams get anything they want. And that's the issue here. Because while talent has been an issue, that does not mean that you can't be competitive. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't play with intensity and physicality, like Dan Orlovsky pointed out he just saw a total lack of. It doesn't mean that you can't attempt to fit the run well. It doesn't mean that you can't attempt to guard your man. If things like that happen and you're just getting beat because guys bigger, taller, faster, stronger, more technical, whatever at the point, then okay, that's one thing. But when nobody is in the right position, nobody is doing the right thing, communication is off, and nobody's making breakout plays, how can I fairly just say, yeah, that's injuries? You would be able to create more bailout plays. Okay, you would be able to create better plays. But is Dorrance Armstrong being on the field, does that account for us sending 2 guys to cover a bunch left on 4th and 1? No. Does Marshawn Lattimore being on the field account for the linebackers over pursuing a run play and leaving a cutback open? No. So that's the point that I'm making here. And I've seen way too many comments saying that I'm being harsh and I'm forgetting that injuries exist. I need to keep that in perspective. It's actually more the context that injuries do exist and they've existed for everyone. Yet you heard all the numbers that I read out. Our defense is literally playing like one of the worst the NFL has ever seen. So you remember how I said the 2020 Detroit Lions, that was the last time there was a defense that had a worse scoring efficiency against the pass than the Commanders. Here's the starting depth chart for that Lions defense. Trey Flowers, Danny Shelton, John Penisini, Romeo Okwara, Christian Jones, Jelani Travai, Jamie Collins, Desmond Trufant, Amanu Oruwariye, Jaron Curse, and Duron Harmon. This was 5 years ago, and I don't think any of these players are still in the NFL. Now let me, because injuries played a big part in the season, right? And they have, but it's really still only the defense we're talking about. If the offense was scoring 50 points, heck, maybe we'd win a couple of more games, right? But the offense is not why we're losing right now. So if we only look at the defense, I'm going to read you out this year's starters compared to last year's starters. And you guys just tell me what you think here. Deron Payne. Jonathan Allen for Javon Kinlaw. To me, that's an upgrade. Dante Fowler for Jacob Martin. Now, Martin has not had a heavy workload. I would still call it a downgrade, but I would only call it a mild downgrade from what I've seen. I actually really like Jacob Martin. Dorrance Armstrong for Preston Smith, obvious downgrade. Luvu for Luvu, same. Wagner for Wagner, same. Sainristil for Sainristil, same. Quan Martin for Quan Martin, same. Chin for Jeremy Reeves, downgrade. Supposed to be Will Harris, we know that. Lattimore for Amos, upgrade. St. Just for Noah I now, or Jonathan Jones even. If we're using Jonathan Jones, I would call that an upgrade. So that's 11 players right there. We have, what? 1, 2, 3 upgrades and 3 downgrades, and everyone else is the same. We have bad depth, and I'm only looking at starters here. We have bad depth, and the downgrade from Dorrance Armstrong to Preston Smith is sizable. I'm not acting like it's some simple 1-for-1, oh, tough luck, next man up. No, that matters. But again, I'm not upset that we're losing. I'm upset that we're not competitive. I'm upset that players aren't in the right spots, that they don't know what they're supposed to be doing, that they're not executing, that they're not attacking. All of these things to be competitive. There had only been one team in the history of the NFL to have a worse month or a month as bad as the one we just had. Now we are in that exclusive club. And the Dolphins just blew out the Buffalo Bills. So now we're going to Spain. Who knows what's going to happen? Oh, and by the way, in case you didn't hear, Deron Payne is suspended for that game. He was suspended for throwing a punch. Well, not even throwing, for punching Amon-Ra. Never understand why people punch someone with a helmet on. That can only end in one way. But Deron Payne's not going to be there. The Commanders' highest paid defensive player will not be there. The defensive front, they're not going to. They demoted Jalen Holmes back. They didn't. They made him inactive. I feel like they've got no choice now because you're going to have Newton and Kinlaw and Day and Goldman, and then Martin and Vaughn and Preston Smith, unless they make Louisville a full-time edge rusher again. And you've got 4 DTs, 3 of whom are backups, 1 off the practice squad. You've got 3 DTs, all of whom are backups, or 3 edge rushers, all of whom are backups, plus 1 linebacker converting to edge rusher. It's a sad state of affairs right now, guys. So to kind of put a bow on this, some positives from the game. Josh Conerly did play very well. The negatives, statistically, again, allowed the 2nd most yards in a game this entire season on Dan Campbell's first time calling plays. Highest touchdown plus first down percentage allowed to a quarterback. We've got 3 of the top 5 games in that area. Dead last, worst in the NFL since at least 2000 in yards per attempt. Worst since 1981 in net yards allowed per attempt. Worst EPA per dropback since 2020. I get that. I come across critical at times, and that's because I should. This defense deserves some criticism. So, and I want to make this one final point here, actually, before I head out. It's nothing against the players personally. If you'll notice when I talk about them, I don't call them stupid. I don't call them names. I don't do things like that because I don't. It's my job to criticize what I see on the field when criticism is warranted. And everything that we've seen shows you that it is. But guys, I am going to head out of here. If you're joining me here, I do appreciate you being here, being a part of the community. Make sure you do hit the like button if you enjoyed. Hit the subscribe button if you're new around here. Go to the comment section, leave me your thoughts on everything I said in this video. Link to join the Full Command Discord is at the top of the description. And as I always say, I'll catch you in the next one. Have a great day.